monsters and ghosts to otherworldly beings. Join the explorers as they venture into the darkest realms, seeking the truth to what goes bump in the night.
Good evening and welcome to Explorers Seekers of the Truth, episode 49. I am Chad
42.
Charlesworth. 42, 49, 50, 75, who knows anymore. I am, of course, Chad Charlesworth, and as always, I am joined by my best friend and co-host, Les Cavage. So, besides technical difficulties, how are you doing this evening, Les?
I'm good. I don't know how well you're doing, considering your computer didn't want to cooperate with you. So Chad is actually joining us through the BeLive phone app. So that's why his screen is going all over the place, because his computer didn't want to cooperate. Big surprise. Why would anything go smoothly for us? At all.
Well, of course. I don't know anymore.
Well, I'd like to welcome everybody to the show. And as Chad said, didn't say, it is our 42nd episode, not our 49th. And we're really glad to have everybody with us tonight. But before we begin, I have to go through my usual spiel, because it wouldn't be one of our shows without it now, would it?
No, of course
you can. No, couldn't. Exactly. You could find us at our website, www.explorersgroup.com. There you can see some of our archive shows, some of the evidence that we have out there. Hopefully we get some new stuff, because we have some really cool investigations planned in the near future. So once we go and do some of that, we're not going to reveal any locations, but you guys all saw the polls that we had out on our Facebook page. So you'll know kind of some of the places that we're hoping to get to this year. But anyway, you could go see some of the stuff that we had found at other places at the website. We're on Twitter at Explorers Group. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/Explorers Group, and on Instagram and iTunes and YouTube. iTunes and YouTube, just search Explorers Seekers of the Truth and you'll find us. For whatever reason, they don't give us a decent link, so I do apologize for that. So now, before we get into tonight's topic, I believe we have an oddity of the week, if I am not mistaken. Can you enlighten our listeners on what that might be, Mr. Charlesworth?
I could try.
That would be awesome.
So our oddity of the week this week comes to us from KUTV out of Salt Lake City, Utah. And the story that they're reporting is a man told police he was shot at and nearly hit by 2 bullets because a man in Montana thought he was a Bigfoot. Now, this story just is beyond ridiculous and just scary.
Mm-hmm.
So the man reported that he confronted the shooter, who told him he fired at him because he was not wearing orange and thought he was a Bigfoot.
Oh my God.
The Montana sheriff, Leo Dutton, told the Independent Record in Helena that the man who was shot at said a bullet missed him by about 3 feet to his left, and then another bullet missed him to his right. He ran to cover in a group of trees. The 27-year-old target shooter was on BLM land and was setting up targets when the shooter mistook him for Bigfoot.
Oh my God.
When he identified and then confronted the shooter, he discovered a man in a black Ford F-150 truck who said, "I thought you were Bigfoot," according to the target story here, as reported by the Ohio Statesman. I do not target practice, but I see something that looks like Bigfoot. I just shoot at it." The shooter was quoted as saying. Now, this is also a woman was actually shot at by a black Ford F-150 in this area.
But Bigfoot wasn't mentioned in that report, though, was it?
That one I don't think mentions the Bigfoot story, but I don't know if the woman confronted the shooter in that story necessarily. So, but who goes out and just is randomly firing at people who are out somewhere, especially like this guy was at a target range and this guy just decided to start shooting at him because he thought he was Bigfoot.
Wow. Now
Yeah,
you would think a target range generally is an open area.
yeah.
Like, I mean, you have targets down the range, you know. So clearly you would expect people to be out there setting up targets, setting up, you know, whatever they're going to be using as to practice shooting. What would give somebody the idea? What would go through somebody's mind to say that's definitely not a guy, that's a Bigfoot? It's got to be, because, you know, Bigfoot just frequent shooting ranges.
The person, it just, like I said, this is one of those like scary stories that there's a person out there dumb enough to just be shooting, like, yeah, like you said, at a target range. Like, first of all, if anything, wouldn't like a Bigfoot type creature avoid those areas?
Right, yeah, because I mean, so, according to reports, people say that Bigfoot, I guess, are intuitive enough to know to make that association that when there's people around, there's firearms, there's guns, and that's why they typically try to avoid humans when they're active in their areas. Just the same as they try to say that Bigfoot can recognize and identify a trail camera, so on and so forth. Which I have my own thoughts on that whole situation, but that's for another show. But the dude, he pulls up in an F-150 and shoots from the truck, or did he get out of the truck?
It doesn't, I don't think it says in there that the person, like, if he shot from the truck or had gotten out of the truck.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of like, either way, I mean, it's ridiculous that somebody would be, but I do know deer hunters that have shot from their truck, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
at deer and stuff like that.
Even though they're not supposed to.
Yeah.
And it's funny too that a woman had the same experience, although like it said that Bigfoot wasn't mentioned, but it seems to me that this dude just seems to like to toy with people more so than actually thinking it was a Bigfoot. I think he just likes going around and shooting at people, you know, just that, I guess maybe for a thrill or whatever. Because if he shot at a woman and then he was shooting at somebody else, but because the guy confronted him, oh, I thought you were a Bigfoot, which is kind of a very odd excuse, you know what I mean? But and I don't know if the man is a hunter or not, but don't you typically you want to identify what you're shooting at before you shoot at something? I mean, just common sense, especially something that looks human or resembles a human.
Yeah, you would. I mean, you're kind of, you know, you got to know what your target is, what's behind your target, stuff like that. It's very odd that somebody's just. It just makes me believe that the person's not altogether with it.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. This one is a crazy one. Well, it's almost as and I don't mean, I guess I got to choose my words wisely because I don't want to show any disrespect, but the guy who was running around as the Bigfoot and got hit by multiple cars in a ghillie suit. Like,
yeah.
I mean, come on. People really got to start using their heads. I mean, it's bad enough that the dude got hit by a car, and I think he died, actually, didn't he?
I kind of have a feeling that's what happened to the guy.
Yeah. I mean, I feel sorry for the guy, but at the same time, it's kind of like, why would you go out there try to impersonate this creature? You know, it was bad enough that you got hit by a car, but I mean, if he didn't, he runs the risk of getting shot. Just like, you know, in this situation where somebody was just going out and setting up targets and a person thought he was a Bigfoot and shot him. Now, this, I think, like I said, I think this is more of somebody who is just out for getting a rise out of people or just messing with people and dangerously. But, you know, and Cindy Hall has a good comment down there. Let me see if I can bring it up. She says, Jeans and a t-shirt versus a ghillie suit. There's nothing mentioned in the report about what that person was wearing, was there? I don't think so.
Well, I imagine if it's this time of year and in Montana, the person probably had a coat on and was bundled up a little bit.
Yeah, or maybe they were wearing camo, which kind of made it look like they were,
But
I don't
still,
know.
it doesn't give you a reason to shoot at them.
Right. And I mean, honestly, like, you should be able to tell the difference between clothing and fur.
Yeah, you would hope that,
people would be intelligent enough. But then again, we are living in a pretty crazy world these days, so who knows?
Yeah, hold on one second. I'm sorry. Now all of a sudden my camera is working.
Oh, hey, how about that?
I gotta shut off. I don't think my mic's gonna kick on though.
Well, whatever you were doing, I heard it. I don't know if it was coming through your headphone microphone or your actual microphone, but
Well, that's a problem. I have this mic right next to me. Hello, 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 hello.
I hear you if you're talking through. You know what? Just keep going through your phone and your headphones, because if you mess with it, knowing our luck, you'll end up getting booted off again, and I'll be doing the rest of the show solo, and I don't want that. Is that okay? Are you okay with that? Because you sound good from what I could tell. You're coming through loud and clear.
Well, of course I sound good, Les.
You got that buttery voice, baby.
No, I don't. But so now that this ridiculousness is out of the way, we're going to get into tonight's main topic there, right, Les?
Yes. Let's get into it. We're going to travel back in time this evening, and we're going to get whisked away to Western Pennsylvania. Now picture it. It's December 9th, 1965. You're in a small town of Kecksburg, Pennsylvania. You're told of a meteor that has crossed 6 states and Canada as it heads towards your town. You go out to scan the night sky in hopes to catch a glimpse of this mysterious object. You think, could this be some sort of Soviet attack? When you get outside, you can now see how low the object is, and suddenly you realize it's about to plummet into the earth in the woods nearby. Once it makes contact with land, you rush out to the area to see what it is. You observe an acorn-shaped object with strange symbols on it, but you're quickly rushed away by military personnel. What is it? Where did it come from? These questions haunt you for years. You're fed information and reports, but none of which match what you witnessed that evening. Dun, dun, dun.
That's so funny because I was going to do that when you finished. But that's right. Tonight we're going to be discussing what is known as the Pennsylvania Roswell, or as it is, identified by most, the Kecksburg UFO Incident, which occurred on December 9th, 1965 in Kecksburg, Pennsylvania, as Les had mentioned, in the good old US of A. Now, citizens of 6 United states and Canada reported a brilliant flaming fireball over Detroit, Michigan, Windsor, Canada. Astronomers said it was likely a meteor burning up in the atmosphere and descending at a steep angle. NASA released a statement in 2005 reporting that experts had examined fragments from the area and determined that they were from a Russian satellite. But records of their findings were lost in the 1990s.
Isn't that how it always happens? The mysterious vanishing of all reported records and any kind of information or intel pertaining to such events.
Well, that's always the funny thing is they just randomly, those files in particular, disappear. They have the most mundane, like Jenny ordered toilet paper for the upstairs men's room filed. That never disappears.
No.
But Larry saw a UFO, and we had some kind of fragmental evidence of it. Then all of a sudden it's Yeah, we don't know what happened to that. It must have got shredded at some point or burned up in a fire.
Well, if there's one thing that you could get from this, like all these reports that come from these government facilities or even local state government, what do you want to call it, like state departments and whatnot, they're really not good at keeping track of any of their stuff.
Or that's what they lead us to believe.
Right.
I can't imagine that these agencies are that terrible at
Right.
keeping records or keeping their records in a safe storage facility. Like I said, they have paper towel orders from the 1970s, but for some reason they can't find a document that says this was a Russian satellite. Could it just doesn't make sense.
No.
Now, NASA responded to a court order, as part of the Freedom of Information Act request to search for the records.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, this incident, had gained notoriety in, popular culture and ufology, with the speculations ranging from alien craft to debris from the Soviet space probe Cosmos 96.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some reports on things caused by the object range from hot metal debris over Michigan and northern Ohio, grass fires and sonic booms in the Pittsburgh metropolitan area were attributed to the fireball. Some people in the village of Kecksburg, about 30 miles southeast of Pittsburgh, reported something crashing into the woods with wisps of blue smoke, vibrations, and a distinct thump sound.
Everything you just listed to me just sounds like a Raconteurs album. Hot metal debris over Michigan sounds like a live, track, and vibration and distinct thump sounds like a studio album.
It does, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I got to make fun of most of this stuff tonight because otherwise I'm gonna go crazy. And according to the initial story in the Greensburg Tribune Review, the area where the object landed was immediately sealed off on the order of the U.S. Army and the state police officials, reportedly in anticipation of a close inspection of whatever had fallen. State police officials there ordered the area roped off to wait and expected the arrival of both U.S. Army engineers and possibly civilian scientists. When the state troopers and Air Force personnel searched the woods, they reported they found absolutely nothing. A subsequent edition in the Tribune Review bore the headline, "Searchers Fail to Find Object."
Interesting. Well, here's some back information on the area that we're discussing this evening. Kecksburg is an incorporated community in Mount Pleasant Township, Westmoreland County, Pennsylvania, and is located along PA Route 982 in a heavily wooded area about 30 miles southeast of Pittsburgh at an elevation of about 1,209 feet. So it's kind of a remote, secluded area.
Yeah, definitely one of those parts of Pennsylvania that are less densely populated, more rural area. Even being 30 miles from Pittsburgh, it's still kind of out there. I don't think I've ever actually been in Kecksburg, but I've been through that part of the state a couple times, and it's kind of tree, house.
Bigfoot.
Bigfoot, tree, UFO.
Well, we make light of this and we jest, but in all honesty, that area, and we'll talk more about this in another show and whatnot, but what makes this whole phenomenon interesting is that area of Western PA is kind of a hotbed of all different kind of paranormal, extraterrestrial, I guess cryptozoological, all kinds of oddities call that area home.
Yeah, it's an area, I guess, of what is the modern term for an area of high strangeness.
I don't know.
Yeah, I guess that's what people are, calling certain areas now.
Yeah, a hotbed of paranormal activity.
That's what I'd call it, but
Yeah, hotbed.
hotbed. That sounds like it could be a Poison album.
Yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
According to MUFON, eyewitnesses claim to have seen. Now, this is a report from a MUFON file. According to the first witnesses to report the incident, and the person's name was Francis Kelp, who reported seeing a fiery object crash into the woods and called the WHJB radio station at around 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, she contacted the station's reporter and news director, John Murphy, who in turn immediately reported the incident to the Pennsylvania State Police. Multiple witnesses managed to investigate the scene before the military officials arrived. Of them were the fire department officials, regular civilians, Murphy himself, and the Pennsylvania State Police.
Which is interesting because you have the reporter, Murphy, right? Or the news director. You have the fire department officials and a slew of regular civilians. Now, and the state police. So all those different departments and those people. Now, okay, I could understand the civilians getting written off just because I guess it's a little bit easier to do because they don't bear credibility. But all these other departments that were witness to this and all this, where's all their reports? Where's all their information?
Well, yeah, that is one of the kind of interesting things when you have like fire department officials. Now, I'm sure, again, it goes back to in the 60s how were things documented? For a rural fire department, was there records kept? Past. They may have kept records on the number of calls, where they went, what the outcomes were, but were they kept for 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, and then destroyed, lost? Now there is more of people, I would believe, probably lost their records, not losing, not NASA losing records. I could see a small rural fire department kind of misplacing things, or we need, town council needs to see that, so the file is taken to the council meeting and it gets passed around and somehow gets forgotten in a chamber, somebody coming in to clean it up after the meeting. They must have left this here, tosses it on a pile, it disappears.
Right.
It's in some file for the sewage treatment plant that got destroyed 7 years later.
Can you hear me? Am I on here still?
I can hear you.
All right, because I just my video feed for whatever reason got kicked out and I had to put myself back in, so I just want to make sure that you can still hear me.
Yeah, it did. You went away for a second, but then all of a sudden you came back and I was sitting here talking.
Yeah, and
but,
again,
yeah, I can hear you.
I touched nothing. It's just gotta love Be Live.
Mm-hmm.
Good thing I paid so much money for this shit.
Yeah, that's a different story. That's for when we just do a Facebook Live or a YouTube show directly, like from one of our phones somewhere, and we can tell you all the lovely stuff that goes on behind the scenes.
Oh God.
Now this, I have another report here. Now this comes from Doug Yorchie.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's how you say his name.
Looks like it.
And it was, I'm trying to, of course, my font on my computer is always crappy on the screen. It was a warm December night in 1965. I was 14 years old, and my cousin John was 12. As we left my house to sneak a few cigarettes down the alley, sounds like a Les Sincavage move.
Yeah.
We lived in the suburban community of Bridgeville, about 12 miles southeast or southwest of downtown Pittsburgh. We came to the lithographic building, which had a loading dock in the back. It was the perfect place to sit and smoke in secret. We knew we had to leave soon. The time was getting late into the evening, but before we made our way back to the house, something pierced the night sky over my left shoulder. Our heads turned to the left, and our eyes could not help but notice a bright ball of light. Both John and I were stunned, our mouths dropped. The object was about the size of a full moon, and it trailed sparks or little bits of light. The odd thing about it was the thing did not fall straight down. The UFO went laterally, sideways, almost up whenever this was. It could not have been a meteor. A shooting star or space debris falls down. A natural object does not move horizontally. Meteorites do not go up. So basically what this kid was saying, if I didn't butcher the whole story there.
You did. You did.
I got to change
You need to change that font.
Yeah, I got to change the font